Hey fellas, as I here's this month's gaming vlog. I want to kind of swap this with my Inside 2 review, which will be done this weekend before I leave. I had to see my father in California. Nevertheless, I will be addressing what I've been currently playing in lieu of any gaming news that I'll probably have to get through my backlog at another time. So let's begin. Let's start with the PlayStation front this time, since I was wondering what to expect at from the new people in charge of the company after Jim's tumultuous later years. And so far, the I have been enjoying what the new people in charge have been putting out. I mean, as someone who still doesn't have a PS5 yet, I would say the offerings for this month on PS Plus have been quite impressive, and the essential tier I'll definitely go through first, and the ones I enjoyed most on that one are a tie between both Streets of Rage 4, a retro reimagined side-scrolling brawler, made for and by people who love previous installments like me, as well as similar games, and SpongeBob the Cosmic Shake, celebrating 25 years of being one of the big three of Nick. The other two I would argue this time are Loud House versus and Ninja Turtles. I mean, it's definitely a natural progression from the excellently hydrated version of Battle for Bikini Bottom, and in many respects not just like Bikini Bottom Super Mario Odyssey in terms of collectible platformers, also in some respects like their Crash 4 Is About Time, and it's definitely I've actually beaten both games and also going to completion them both. Especially looking forward to getting the secrets in the latter as well. So let's continue. The third game in the essential tier is AEW Fight Forever, which is distinct enough from the WWE games made by the same developer, Ukes, who has experience with making wrestling games. Which also makes sense given how the actual promotion is distinct from live on TV as well. Even I, someone who's not as big like a fan of the material as others, knows that's one of the main hooks, the presentation, and to make everything look showy. And I also like how the gameplay strikes a nice balance between the simulation and style of other similar titles, as well as the more arcade style wrestling games I tend to prefer. I focus less on the aspect of more just pure fun, and I'm still practicing with this one, so I'll need to spend more time with it to be sure. I'm currently maining Kenny Omega. I also created my own wrestler, I'm definitely put him to his pace as well. So let's continue to the first three PS2 classics on the premium tier. So, after about a year or two of the legacy titles, mainly focusing on the original PlayStation and also the PSP family, talk persists of a new model of that finally coming out. We finally have our first three legit PS2 emulated classics, and in my opinion, they did not disappoint. I'm enjoying them all for different reasons. So, Tomb Raider Legend, which is the first of multiple titles up by Crystal Dynamics, next after the disastrous reception to Angel of Darkness, so something like a soft reboot of the franchise, which takes the more season installments as canon, and goes to the basics for Lara as well. I really hope this next reboot they're working on also does that as well. It is possible to have a serious story that delves into Lara's troubled past of losing her colleagues, her parents, without how it's making it overly traumatic and making the game less fun to play as a result. The actual enjoyment should come from solving puzzles, exploring tombs and other exotic locales, and occasionally getting into gunfights with those who would wish her harm, where she is very much Indiana Jones' distant counterpart, Hurt being educated, one with a doctorate, and yes, Winston is still there. Basically, if I may use a DC analogy, as I sometimes do, basically, her Alfred Pennyworth, the Croft family's faithful butler, the closest thing she had left to a parent after losing hers. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Second is Sly Cooper and Theseus Raccoonus. Apart from having to retry the submarine challenge after the last chest wouldn't spawn, apparently this is a common problem that dates back to the original release and even remained in later versions. And I am enjoying playing it again. It's a nice mixture of collectible platforming and stealth action. And even though Sucker Punch has denied the rumors of working on another game, especially given how they have their hands full with Evolved Ghost of Tsushima, they have said they'd be willing to do so if the opportunity arose, and I hope it does one day. I can certainly imagine a true Sly 4 on a similar technological vein to recent Ratchet and Clank games, especially Rift Apart, the series direct sequel to the original trilogy that regards the events of Lost World Seed installments, and goes back to basics, where it definitely harkens back to a much simpler time. And I can definitely understand why this kind of gaming has caught on as well, man. But definitely not least is Star Wars: The Clone Wars, a game which I alluded to previously. It's the first time once I've played it, and I never owned it in the past, but I definitely liked what I saw, and given how it has the same developers like the original two Battlefront games, it's kind of like a precursor to them in terms of many specs. Granted, it's not as refined visually or in terms of gameplay as those titles, but it's still enjoyable, and gives some nice connective tissue between episodes 2 and 3, and adds more to one of the saga's most impactful conflicts, which has far-reaching events into both the original and the sequel trilogies, and then the many, many spin-offs. And again, I am fortunate enough to have missed most of the foofara regarding the acolytes, right? And I definitely intend to keep giving that a miss as I'm working on trying to beat this game and go for 100% completion as well, especially in terms of Platinum Trophy. I'm still quite proud of the one I have about from Classic Collection. Gotta still keep logging into that. I have a reputation to maintain as Marshal Commander of the 501st Legion. So, onto the Switch, and I am now playing Darkest Dungeon, since it's going to be free as a trial with NSO this weekend, and until I have to get on the plane on Wednesday. I'm working on stuff ahead of time for that. You should see it's in late June, early July, and it's such a very unique take on the strategy title and roguelite as well, and yes, permadeath is very much in play, and not just that, there are actually afflictions that you actually have to look out for with your team, and if they happen enough times, they can become permanent. So unless you would treat them a certain way, not just in terms like using medicine and rations, but also whether or not you choose to send them to like a chapel or a tavern to blow off steam, it can really mess with your head. And again, it's not just like the violence and some of the other content that would make it so it's really not that family friendly, but it's also something I don't think younger players would find fun either. I mean, so now I have a bit more ground to stand on especially before the sequel comes out this year as well. So let's continue. The Legacy games on Game Boy Advance Online and on N64 Online 17. I am playing and enjoying. Game Boy Online also got the first 5 Mega Man games on handheld, and while they're not quite on the same order of magnitude as their counterparts on main systems, they're still quite entertaining, and they actually manage to capture the core experience of the console Big Brothers, of taking down the Robot Masters to stop Dr. Wily's schemes. And even though the second one had a different developer, I still think it's worth playing at the very least. I mean, so I'm using the Super Game Boy filter for all of them, and I actually not against the idea of other titles showing up on there. I mean, especially like the Mega Man Extreme games, Game Boy Color in the near future, and yeah. I also I'm working on more about Scarlet and Violet and TMNT Tournament Fighters, my views of those, and I'm gonna have to push this back just a bit more than I intended. And if I have a choice between like finishing something, just rush it out, and also just taking my time to make sure it's done right, I tend to go with the latter more often than not. So, that also is going to apply to a lot of output I have coming. Into later this month and into early July. So there's that. Of course, I'm still logging heavily into Splatoon 3 and checking into Animal Crossing New Horizons at least once a day. Something I intend to keep up once I'm going to see my dad. And I might also share some other goodies I got, since some of which are game related since I was in Kappa. A Game Boy candy tin full of D-pad shaped candies, and once that's gone, I also have the Game Boy tins collectible. Happy 35th anniversary there. And also somewhat anime related as well. Provided I can get sorted out. Here it is. A South Korean in Pokeball Blind Premium, which cost $7.99. I am looking at the exchange rates in South Korean won. It checks out, and so let's get this off. And apart from what was already on the package, other ones are Mewtwo, and let's see what's inside. Well, let's look at that. Sobble. Been my spirit Pokemon for the longest time, and I would definitely look forward to talking more, and also so at least 2 pairings of Pikachu and Mewtwo, as well as Galastars in this line here. So that will be all for now, and I will definitely see you soon, and finally get into the new record-breaking smash of Inside Out 2. So take care, everyone.